80 years ago, a young Canadian soldier was one of thousands who arrived here on the shores of Normandy, France, to take part in the D-Day invasion. Bill Ross remembered the water being rough and the German guns firing upon them, sending plumes of water shooting up into the air. And when he got out of the water and came ashore, he saw this big house up ahead. A house that served as a landmark for the thousands of Canadian soldiers who took part in the invasion of Normandy and ended up pushing the Nazi Germans back and helping end the war.
80 years later, 24 French kids set off from Annecy on a Sunday morning. They're retracing and recalling the D-Day exploits of Ross, who was a member of the Queen's Own Rifles. But they're also facing an existential threat of their own: how to keep alive the memory of Canada's sacrifice for future generations. How to get young people to stop and think and remember. It's becoming harder 80 years after D-Day, with very few veterans still alive to tell their own story. Samuel Jouot said the number of young people in the group has dropped by half in recent years.
You get their attention, they maybe stay for 6 months or so, maybe less, and then they go away. And the thing is not to attract them, but to keep their attention.
The group is called Westlake Brothers Souvenir. It's named after the Westlake brothers of Toronto, Albert, Thomas, and George. George was killed on June 7th, D-Day +1. Albert and Thomas were killed together 4 days later. On this day, there were 13 stops at 13 monuments. At each, they gather in a circle made up of the flags of Canadian provinces and of the Canadian Army regiments who fought here. They read specially prepared texts about the sacrifice made by Canadians who came ashore at Normandy 80 years ago. The texts pound home that they are the same age now as the Canadian soldiers were when they fought and died here. And before they move on, they lay a red paper poppy at the monuments. And then they continue.
We are young people, and it's really not common for commemorations. In general, it's mostly old people who do commemoration, and only in France. The fact that we came to Canada to commemorate their soldiers.
Emma Leclerc traveled to Canada with a group in the summer of 2023. The highlight for Emma was meeting 100-year-old veteran Edgar Doiron.
And meeting Edouard Doiron, a veteran, was so life-changing because he was so happy to see us. And we should have been the happier people, not him, you see. He told me that I was really beautiful, that he really enjoyed that we came to him, to saw him, because he came maybe to Normandy now.
Yeah.
And that he was so touched and so grateful for young people to still be here. He didn't expect people to remember 80 years after he did that.
She said that Doiron cried as he told his war story, that he danced and laughed as he welcomed these French kids who were giving their all to keep a formative part of Canada's history alive.